On October 1st, 2018, during their 6:15 PM meeting at the Town Hall, the Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Stephen and Catherine Parker for a determination of the applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands Bylaw to add a swimming pool on property located at 43 Walnut Hill Drive, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Good evening.
Good evening.
Do you want to give your name, please?
Yep. My name is Chris Mullery. I'm an engineer with Morse Engineering. I'm representing the homeowners at 43 Walnut Hill, Stephen and Catherine Parker. We're here to discuss the addition of a swimming pool with an associated extension of the existing patio and the associated landscaping and a retaining wall slightly in the 100-foot buffer. As you can see, the house is centered on the front of the property with a bordering vegetated wetland located in the rear. It was delineated by John Zimmer. It's highlighted in blue. The 50-foot no disturb buffer is highlighted in orange, and the 100-foot buffer is highlighted in green. The property lines are shown in bold there. We have a proposed limit of work downslope from the retaining wall. We would like to, the proposed conditions for it, we're proposing a silt sock for the limit of work there. There's about 20 square feet of the retaining wall and the patio located inside the 100-foot buffer. It complies with the 50-foot do not disturb buffer. And if you refer to the section of the wetland regulations that's attached to the RDA on the last page, under 310 CMR 10.02 2B2, accessory uses are exempt from NOI if the conversion is from an existing lawn. And we have a very good vegetated lawn all the way back from the retaining wall to the tree line that's shown in between the 50-foot buffer and the wetland. Sorry.
No, go ahead. You finish.
The swimming pool is located 115 feet from the wetland, and the retaining wall is located 96 feet at the closest point.
I was just going to ask,
the condition, the questions.
the patio, the kind of rounded patio, is that staying? It's kind of going into the swimming pool.
Yes, it will be extended. Obviously, the section that's shown inside that swimming pool there will be converted into the proposed patio that was shown there with pavers.
Okay.
So like the gray part of the patio, the section that's extending into the actual pool, obviously will not be there. But we are extending that patio all the way around.
Okay, but you are going to keep the rest of the patio attached to the house?
Correct.
No, I have no problem with it.
Doug?
No questions.
Paul? Looks good. Lisa?
No problem. Nope.
Any questions from anyone in the audience? Amy?
So the project appears to meet the requirements of a -2?
Go for it. I make a motion for a -2 finding.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good to go.
Thank you.
Thank you. On October 1st, 2018, during their 6:15 meeting at the Town Hall, the Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of the Scituate Beach Association for a determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands Bylaw to regrade existing field on the property located at the corner of Otis Road and Turner Road, Scituate. Butters and other interested parties are invited to attend.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. My name is David Mahary. I'm here on behalf of the Scituate Beach Association.
How are you tonight, David?
I'm well.
Good.
John Murphy, I live at 105 Turner Road, adjacent to the ball field.
How are you, Chief? Good. What's up?
So we just want to make some improvements to the field. Over the past few winters, it's taken a beating as far as just the grade of it itself. There are quite a few ankle breakers that are throughout the field, and we want to make it safer for neighborhood kids to play on. Part of it too is we want to put down new grass seed as well. This past winter, with the big storm that we had, a lot of sand was laid on the field and it buried some of the grass. So we want to just kind of revive it. And we've been given a donation from a member to help do that. So we just want to make sure we have everything in order as far as like the abutters and so on, and just to revitalize the field itself.
Is there a particular structure that's being raised?
Nothing's being raised.
Okay.
No. I think the biggest concern was just the abutters to the marsh right beside it, and not disrupting that, obviously. So that was the biggest concern, I think, as far as like through conservation. So
This sounds like it's just maintenance work.
it is, yeah. I mean, it's just improving it. A part of it too is that there used to be a backstop down there for a baseball field. We want to put that in as well, but that'll be in the spring. Right now, we just want to get the field in condition and the seed laid before the winter comes.
Penny?
Richard, this is a list of what they're gonna do. No, I think it's a child, believe it or not, the Little League played down there.
Yeah.
That was one of the fields. My
Right.
brothers played on that
Yeah.
field. And every summer we'd be down there, and I'm glad to see somebody's taking an interest to revitalize it so
Yeah.
the kids can get out there and play.
It's funny,
It was very sad to see it just,
yeah.
deteriorate.
Yeah, last summer, we mowed the field in a way to have wiffle ball tournaments down there, and all summer, kids were playing down there. And we resurfaced the basketball court down there, and since then, we've had a couple of 3-on-3 tournaments, so we're starting to see more use out of it,
Yeah.
and it's good for the neighborhood, so we just want to keep that going, so.
Doug?
No question.
No questions.
Great job.
All right, perfect.
Jen?
Yep.
Anybody in the audience for this wetlands hearing? Amy?
Well, just, they're here because it's land subject to coastal storm flowage,
Right.
and there's buffer, there's salt marsh on one side. So the project area that they're gonna grade and reseed is outside that 50. So I would say that it meets the requirements of a -2 and 3.
So we've actually changed the dimensions based on that, but also the donation that was made, and some of the estimates that we received. So and I'm sorry, I didn't know how many I would need, but these are the new dimensions.
We can share.
Yeah, these are the new dimensions for what the field would be.
Thank you.
Or what the work would be.
Make sure Amy.
Yeah, so it takes it off, it brings it in even closer from the wetland itself.
Amy, do we need, or do we have a drawing on file to show the footage of all this?
We do.
Okay.
But we have what was submitted with the application, so I'd like to, I mean, if you've taken it further off the
Yeah.
buffer?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. This was the original,
Yeah.
was,
I'm sorry, the landscaper just got that to me today, so I didn't have time to get it
180
out.
That looks like the same drawing.
240.
No, it's,
No, it's shrunk by 100
Yeah.
feet.
Yeah,
It's smaller.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is
Yeah.
120 by
so it's
80.
much smaller now.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, that's good.
further away.
$10,000 to do it.
Okay. Do I have a motion then?
I make
With
a
the
motion.
Did you
new
ask for
dimensions.
butters, Rich?
I did, actually. But I'll ask again, is there anyone in the audience that has any questions about this?
No,
Okay.
I make a motion for a -2 and 3.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good.
Very good.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So negative's good in this case.
Yeah.
Right.
One of the few times in your life it's good to get a negative. I'm thrilled.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You should try that.
Okay, for people who are here, we got two very quick NOIs where we're just probably going to open and then move ahead to a different meeting, continue to them, so, and then we'll get to the NOIs.
I can just make actually a motion.
I'm sorry?
I can just make the motion for the two of them.
Well, don't we have to open them first?
They've already been opened, they're not new.
about Clap Road?
Clap Road and Meehan Hill. They're
Right,
old.
no.
They were from your last meeting.
Yeah, they both continued.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry, I have something different here.
Yeah, well, I'm waiting for you to see. But they're, it's Clap Road, Crosby property, the parking.
No, I understand that, but that wasn't what I was talking about.
Oh, because those are to be continued.
I understand.
Oh.
But you're right, though, we'll do that. I appreciate that. We were
Those
talking
are
about
what?
different things.
Oh,
Okay,
we
no,
certainly were.
We'll do it your way. That's
Okay,
fine.
well, let's continue those, because it is 6:20 and they want to do
Absolutely.
that.
So Clap
Okay,
Road.
So I'm going to make a motion to continue Clap Road access and parking lot to October 22nd at 6:20. Somebody second it?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I make a motion, we continue the ANRAD for 119 Meehan Hill to November 7th at 6:20.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Now, I'm sorry, Richard.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
I jumped the gun. So I'm going to go through the next two that are on the list, and then we'll go back to the Central Ave situations. These should not take long. On October 1st, 2018, at 6:30 in Town Hall, the Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 of the Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Maureen and Robert Hayes to raise and rebuild dwelling on property located at 3 Driftway, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. My understanding is that we really can't do anything with this because we're awaiting a peer review, correct?
Well, we are, but they're gonna still open and present.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody here for that?
Why are you doing the one at 6:30 before the others?
Put them a little out of order, it's okay.
For the people waiting.
You don't know Wi-Fi password here, do you?
No. Want to see this, Richard? Would you
please.
like that? That's what they're proposing. They gave 2 plans. This one is the existing conditions.
Was gonna come at 7:30.
Which is, okay.
There's no other plans? There's only the one?
Those are my plans. Yeah, Amy and them have plans.
Just let them open.
Go ahead, Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Paul Marabito from Ross Engineering Company. I'm representing the owner and applicant, Maureen and Robert Hayes. With me to my left is Stan Humphreys of LAC, who performed some coastal engineering for this project. And also with us is the owner, as well as the contractor, Bob Shepard. What I'd like to do is start by explaining the site. The site is a existing single-family lot that is 15,000 square hundred feet with an existing dwelling shown in this location and a separate detached garage to the south of the existing dwelling. The resource area is the top of a coastal bank and the 50-foot and the 100-foot buffer zone to it. The site is relatively flat. The contours are run from elevation 51 here down to 47 and 46. The water's flowing in this direction across the site. We have been to the zoning board of appeals to raise and reconstruct a house and build a larger dwelling. We've also been to the historic commission. They've approved it subject to a 90-day delay period. At that point, the house could be demolished. The owner did contact 3 people to see if they wanted it for free, but apparently there was too involved to move that with the wires and also the condition of the house itself. Also, I'd like to point out that this property was formerly owned by Mr. Robert Griffin, who also owns the home at the end of the Driftway in this location here, directly north to the property. About 8 or 9 years ago, they applied to the commission to raise and reconstruct the house and also to perform substantial work to reinforce the coastal bank, which is also a part of this project, which Stan Humphries will address. This is the proposed plan shown at a larger scale, 1:10 feet. Again, the yellow is the outline of the lot. This is the proposed dwelling, the location of which was approved by the zoning board. The existing garage will remain in place, and the access to the house will be through a new driveway coming from the southerly portion of the house. Again, we show the top of the coastal bank, the 50 and the 100-foot buffer zone. We're not proposing any change in the grades. We've also performed stormwater calculations under the Scituate stormwater bylaw. And we're proposing to put the recharge area down in the area of the driveway. There is no stormwater calculations required under the DEP regs, because this is a single-family home, so that's exempt. I think with that, I'll end and have Stan make his presentation. One thing I would say is that there were several soil borings done on this bank by Nick Lanning. I think you've seen it in a couple other projects we did, and what he determined was that the soils in here were a fairly compact glacial till. The groundwater was an issue, and that the end result is that the excavation of this soil for the house, which is roughly equal to the weight of the house, would not put any additional vertical horizontal forces on the top of the coastal bank. So based upon his soil analysis, which we did submit in our package, he sees no impact from that house being built in the proposed location. What we did do was to hug it as close to the street as we could, using the average setback calculations from the existing homes further down the street.
Are those new plantings you're showing on the side and down here?
What's that?
Plantings,
Here?
trees, bushes,
No.
whatever. They're
This-
the existing?
Yeah, these are existing. This small strip of land
No,
is owned by the Griffins.
right, okay,
The Driftway is still a public way.
right,
What it does is run to the beach.
right. Well, it runs into flood. Okay, they won't, they'll be disturbing any vegetation.
No, those are staying. We don't own them.
Good evening, Stan Humphries from LEC. As far as the resource areas go, we can start at looking at the Mass Bay as land under the ocean. There's a large stone revetment, leads up to the upland area. Velocity zone for land subject to coastal storm flowage is up to about 22. It's that pink line that you see. That's transferred from the FEMA firm. But what is happening at this site is that there is overwash from surge and wave buildup and breaking waves on the revetment. So while it's indicated that the floodplain is only going to go to the pink line, it actually extends into the bank with overwash. And under your regulations, that's actually part of land subject to coastal storm flowage. So it goes into that, across that pink area and into that first area that you see in purple. That is the coastal bank shown from the top of the revetment landward to the top of the green area that you see there. What Paul is showing on the southeast side or southwest side is that there is essentially a bowl that has eroded back, making the next property fairly vulnerable to erosion. And what we're proposing to do is to fill enough in that west corner to bring the top of the bank further seaward where you see the green area shown. The top intersection, top section to the upper right shows the change in existing slope versus proposed slope. The next section is up further to the north, and there most of the fill is going to be at the base of the coastal bank. The adjacent property to the north had gone through a very similar process and project.
Right.
And what they discovered mid-construction, as I understand it, was that there was a greater need for other measures to be taken to stabilize that slope. And what we plan to do is to match the grades with that property and to use those same measures. In addition, and I'll explain that in a minute, but in addition to, in this property, there is a substantial depression behind the revetment that needs to be filled with a combination of cobbles and boulders. Any looser or smaller grain material would just wash away. So it's got to be able to withstand that overtopping that I was describing earlier. So there are 2 rows of gabion baskets proposed, shown in purple. They'll consist of 4x4 stone-filled gabion baskets. They're baskets that are not metal. They're high-density polyethylene. We've used them before in Second Cliff, the Murphy residence, I think 75 Crescent Ave. And coincidentally, just did a review of the condition of those after these last March storms, and they've held up quite well. So I think they've been there for a good 6 to 8 years. Vegetation can end up growing through them, through the stone. And then on the face of the bank, shown primarily in green, there'll be about 375 cubic yards of bank run gravel to substantially improve the slopes. That will be capped with loam and then seeded with salt-tolerant grass mix, as well as some shrubs. That has yet to be determined. But we want to be able to stabilize the face of the bank with vegetation, not simply install the gabion basket rows and walk away. Then that second row, higher up, is what they found next door to really help keep the stability intact at the top of the coastal bank. The overall length is about 60 feet from one property line to the next. Paul has talked mainly about the house. If you have questions about that, I believe the builder is here. So with that, I'm available for questions.
I don't have questions on the house, I'm okay. It's a disturbed area. You're out of the 50-foot, you're away from the coastal bank. But I do strongly suggest, you talk with them next door, because that was a major undertaking for the Griffins to stabilize that bank with the gabion, with the plantings and so forth. It was, but it seems to have worked.
Well, I referred to the builder, Bob Shepard, was the
Right.
builder. He's on our team.
Yeah.
So that's why there's good communication on this issue.
Exactly.
He's
because
played a
they,
role in the
that-
design.
That was quite an undertaking at the time, but, that's all.
And that looks good now.
It
to me.
looks very, very good, but we would, I'm sure, want to see a planting plan at some point in time, how much you're gonna vegetate it. And the grasses are good, but also, like you said, the plants in between the gabions and stuff.
And the Hayes may want to involve a landscape architect at that point. So is it proper for me to request that that be a condition and that construction can't occur until or unless you have that
I
landscaping
believe
plan?
it can be, but we'll
Okay.
defer that to Amy, but I don't see why not, but it would definitely, we do need
Right.
a plan here. So,
So it kind of looks like that slope needs to be stabilized with or without this project. Is that true?
It's it would continue to erode and there would be less property
Yeah. So this is
in
kind of
in the long run.
this is sort of affording the chance to get down there and work on that.
Yeah.
No, I'm,
Good opportunity.
what, I guess my only question was, so it's all about stabilizing the slope. Is that what we were out for peer review on? Where, that's what we have? on
No, actually, the peer review that we currently have underway is for the stormwater because it triggers the Scituate stormwater bylaw. However, with the technical components that he just described, I think that that's something we should consider, is whether a technical consultant, as far as a coastal geologist, should also review this.
So we're having a peer review done for what, the recharge area that you're talking about, Paul?
I wasn't involved with that. Bob
The
was.
stormwater?
Was there a peer review for the one next door? They have an else?
Back then, we didn't have a peer review.
Yeah,
Well, the town engineer-
that was a while ago.
So
Yeah,
I guess I'm
different.
just trying to figure what the peer review is looking at.
So the stormwater for the
Yep.
house is all we have going right now. But I think, so I don't hate to jump ahead of the comments, but a couple of thoughts here. Technically, I mean, have we been out to the site? I mean, I've been by. Do you guys maybe want to take a site walk and take a look at it? And then maybe dig a little deeper into what's technically being proposed? And if it's something that's not within our realm of expertise, I would suggest that we have a quick peer review to make sure that it meets the requirements of the Wetlands Protection Act and the bylaw as far as stabilization. It sounds like they're proposing what was previously accepted, so I can't imagine that this would be any different, but I'm not sure, that's not my area of expertise, so.
Yeah, well, I can just vouch that it was quite an undertaking,
Yeah.
and they met all our requirements and everything, but it was quite
Yeah,
something. But they did stabilize a bank that was, like Stan said, it's getting washed away, and it really needed
yeah.
to be
Don't you employ the
stabilized.
same methods?
Yeah, so I mean, we could run it by the state folks, or we could just bring in a geologist like Stan, and they could just make sure everybody's on the same page as far as that this would actually meet the requirements. And then also, administratively, I'm a little bit confused, now I think it's becoming more clear, but, so the project area in green is actually not in the same ownership as the house, is that what you're saying?
No, he wasn't saying that.
Oh, it is?
The driftway, see where it says the driftway?
Mhm.
There's a strip there with
That's
bushes.
like a private road. It's not really a road, it's, the road ends at the corner there. But it's like a paper street, I guess we could call it.
Well, I thought the yellow line was the property line.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So that's the neighbors, that piece of land.
But I think the dark green is outside of this fluorescent.
I don't
Yellow.
think it,
It looks like it's outside of the
It is
property
outside
line.
of the,
So-
it's the cliff. I mean, what, yeah.
Can you clear that up? Because if there's two different property owners and two different projects, I'm just wondering if it should really be two different notices of intent. But, so can you just shed some light on that?
The plan that's referenced in the deed shows everything from here over as being owners unknown. And I believe that was the same when the Griffins made the improvement on their bank. The property line is this yellow line, and everything out here is owners unknown. What's confusing is the existing driftway is still a public way according to the town clerk, and the limit of that is out to the beach, which used to be way out here at some point in time. So, again, their land plan shows this as owners unknown, and I'm sure the land for this parcel here, the Griffins, was shown as owners unknown. They took it upon themselves at their expense to reinforce the coastal bank from the landward edge of the existing stone revetment up to their property line. And the methods that you're seeing here being proposed are the same methods that were employed to the north, which have been there about 10 years and they've been holding. At that storm in March, there was some damage along the coast, but there was none experienced on this section here, which is a testament to how well it was built. again, Stan's employing the same methods for treatment on this slope for this property as well.
The abutters
Yeah,
list,
so I think
Just
that-
stuff we want to look into.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
should probably confer about the owner's unknown. I'm not sure that you're allowed to permit a project
Yeah,
on
we can
property
hold
you
the
don't
other
know.
one, you know, just
Or
like,
have a sign
do a
on
little
to.
homework.
Yeah, complicates it a little bit.
I'd like to
sure.
make sure I understand this. The people who are, you're working with for the house are proposing to pay for this other area that's owner's unknown?
Yes,
Have I got that right?
yes.
It's the
Okay.
cliff itself.
Yep, I understand that, and I certainly agree with what you're saying. I just want to make sure I had it right in my own mind. Not as simple as it would seem.
Yeah.
Doug?
You know, I might add that there is a precedent for doing that in other areas of Scituate on the cliffs, where the people have
Yeah.
done.
We've had several.
Yeah, no, I'm okay with that. I don't, you know, I don't want to have them go out, I don't want to require that they try to determine who owns that. I mean, that would, it's very possible that the owners, they do own it. Like, I would have to read the deed and see if there's anything that might, yeah, but with those kind of areas like that were drawn by, if you look at the plans, there's these areas that were not included. And, you know, they could end up spending a year in land court trying to determine that, you know, exact ownership. I really think that,
Well, and we've had counsel tell us before that it is not our job or purview to determine ownership. We
Yeah.
approve methodology,
Right.
and
In that
that's
property
not
line.
in our,
right, I think, and she
Wheelhouse.
was
That, their expense.
she was worried administratively if we've got an owner on the notice of intent and there were, it is attached to their deed. I think what they're doing is they're taking the risk
Yeah.
by, you know, they're gonna have to make those improvements even if it's not on their property, once it's included on their notice of intent, correct? Once they get an order of conditions, they're gonna be bound to those improvements
Not necessarily.
if it's not their land.
Well, I mean, if you have an order of conditions, it's up to you as to whether you actually execute the project in the
Well,
order.
yes, but what I mean is that if, I guess what I'm trying to understand is your concern about the administrative parts. I would, like, they couldn't file a notice of intent for owners unknown.
and the reality is you couldn't enforce it because if you left the open orders on a piece of property that's never going to change hands, it's moot, because it doesn't matter if they ever get closed or you ever get a COC.
Yeah,
So
I-
it's almost better
Nobody can
if
test
it's
it.
attached to a piece of property
right.
that has ownership.
I guess that's what I'm trying
Yeah.
to suggest, is that the work will get done, and it's upon them to have to do it. Their only risk is somebody comes out of the woodworks and say, hey, you're on my property.
I own the cliff.
Right.
They
well,
want it.
think
But I wanna
the
thank you.
only way to
Yeah,
consult
so-
with the DEP and get their opinion,
Yeah,
that we
no,
can make sure we
it
can
doesn't
do
hurt
it.
for us to do a little homework.
Sounds like you can.
Who armed the cliff
Right.
the most recent time, prior to
Oh, we
to
had
these folks?
multiple,
Several of these in Scituate.
multiple properties did this,
Oh, yeah,
projects like this,
We
yeah.
did quite a few. We did
Yeah.
a bunch on Second Cliff, on Crescent, like you said.
You have some more coming,
There were
too.
3 or 4. Yeah, there are.
they're about 8.
And we just had one in, recently.
All of ownership unknown? It's all
No, no,
ownership unknown?
we haven't gotten that far yet.
Okay.
I don't think.
No,
Close.
Okay.
I don't know.
So what I'm asking is there any record of anyone doing any repairs on this riprap revetment in the past? Is there any
Well,
record?
we don't know. We're gonna look into it now.
Well, the revetment itself is below this
Yeah,
area.
it's way down. That was done after 78, I think.
With state and federal funding.
Yeah,
Yep.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, back then.
The list of the butters that we got from the assessor's office was 10 named owners. So, and it's by address. The cliff doesn't really have an address. So
So nobody's paying taxes on it,
probably not.
right?
There's a lot of that. Paul, any more questions?
No, no more. Please.
Nothing?
Jennifer?
Not for now.
But we do have a peer review for the house, is that correct?
Correct.
For the stormwater.
Stormwater
Yeah.
peer review.
Yeah, I gotta continue.
We should,
So, and
we
that-
should make a site visit, see if we can take a look at it. Maybe get some questions answered, open it up to abutters, public comment.
Okay.
So then we would need to, excuse me, we would need to get a continuance on this, correct?
Yes.
But first open it up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, anybody in the audience on this that would like to speak to this?
Just a point of information, down at the event you're talking about, there's going to be considerable work being done down there in the next few years.
Yeah.
On the storm dams we have estimates about $17 million over mainly the 3 cliffs and up in the Glades area, so there will be work being done down in that area probably in the next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that might save them some
Yeah.
rent revenue.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
May want to coordinate the information on that.
Yeah.
Anyone else? How far out should we make this?
Amy,
The next
was there any
meeting sounds
indication as to when they'd have review comments back to us from the consultant reviewing the stormwater?
I, hopefully this week, next week, so maybe just go to the next meeting?
22nd?
Yeah.
And the one other thing I want to say that Penny did mention, at some point, whenever this is done, we will need a planting plan for,
A good planting plan
Right.
for the cliff,
yeah. So, just to give you an additional heads up.
no matter who owns it.
Right.
We need.
If that's going to move ahead, we'll need a planting plan. Okay, so do we need a
So that's
motion?
Well,
We need a motion.
Just point of discussion or question then, are you inferring that that would be required before you close the hearing? Or would you
No,
consider
it'd be a
having it
condition,
come?
but
No,
just-
sometime we put an
Okay.
condition that it's subject to an approved,
That's the way we
Planting
prefer.
plan.
Yes,
That's okay.
approved,
Yeah.
and so at some point, if we can have some information as to what you're thinking of doing, it's very helpful. But yeah, it would end up being on the conditions.
Okay, so I make a motion, we continue 3 Driftway to October 22nd at 6:20.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Did you give her the list of butters that
Yeah.
came? Okay.
No, we did it.
What was that last question she was asking?
Never mind.
Was that about kind
All good.
you did what you needed.
was that
All right, I'm going to go back to,
Vegetation.
We should just add to the plan. Rosa goes into that slope, because that's the only thing that stays on the
Folks.
slope once we add the plan.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be a,
We're continued, right?
yes.
Yeah. We'll take it out all. Need any help?
Okay, I'm going to back up now to 178 Central Avenue.
I'll do some homework.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Tom Charbonneau, 178 Central, and if we can talk to 180 Central at the same time, I think it would save some time.
That's fine.
Is that all right?
That's fine. I would want to just remind you that, well,
Just look at the new-
just go right along. Keep it brief.
We sent a letter, an email to Amy, to
Yeah.
Mr. Snow's attention,
Yes.
on explaining what our position is on the suggestion of state CZM, Rebecca Haney. And I think it points out rather clearly that it's an alternative, but it's not a good alternative. Our house would be in jeopardy, or both of our homes would be seriously damaged with a cobble dune that starts at our piles, or actually goes, as suggested, going under the decks. That's why all the damage took place last winter, because where the waves were breaking were too close to the house, even with the rocks. So that would give us more trouble than we have now. The other alternative is to put it out 15, 20 feet out on the beach, and to put the cobble right on the beach, not to put it down. All that would do was, the storms this weekend might have taken it out. It's not going to stay. It wouldn't matter, if it lasted a winter, we'd be surprised. Just isn't a good alternative. Well, we had proposed originally And we're even thinking, you know, we could even compromise the height of it. Instead of 17 feet, 16 feet, 15 at flood level, which would certainly allow overwash to go in big storms. And that's, I don't see any other reasonable answer to this problem. And I hope the board would go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just add that we certainly appreciate the help and the time that this board has put in to try to get us to a solution that offers us the protection that we're looking for our homes, our septics, and has collateral benefit to the town in keeping material out of the roadway. We've spent considerable time and money with consultants. Of course, we had Mr. Humphreys from LEC do an analysis to help us understand the dynamics of the beach. And we've done several engineered plans based on feedback from the board. So I think we've done our diligence in this project, and we're really looking for your support in allowing us to go ahead and bring in a little bit of riprap that we had proposed and put in place the protection that we need. So we'd like to go ahead as proposed, and like to hear questions or comments that you might have.
I just want to add one other item, and that is, everybody agrees there was a wall there. It's not something that we're creating. It was there up into the late 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I sympathize with you, you know where I stand. I feel terrible about this, but we'll think about it. That's all I can say. We'll close and think about it. And, but it puts the board in a very precarious position with DEP and CZM. As far as us going to grants and our rating and this and that, we sympathize. And I certainly hope that if it doesn't go your way, that you do appeal and get DEP out there. That is my hope, because I would like DEP to come out and to walk these properties. You know, I can sympathize all I want, but I personally, I can't go against them. So I would love to see them come out.
Doug?
Yeah, I'm not sure what to, DEP was out there?
No, they'll only come out for an appeal.
I couldn't-
CZM came out.
CZM came out, okay.
Yeah, we met for a couple of hours.
Yeah, Rebecca and
They
Jason.
had alternative solutions that they're
Yes.
referring to here with
Yes,
cobbles?
Doom, a cobble doom, no boulders.
Where was the placement of the, isn't there some proposed large cobble dune project?
That's
Right.
down the other end. It
Is
won't
it down at
get
it won't get
quite-
up this
Well,
far?
No,
This
it
is-
will.
Eventually
It will. It
Within
will.
the
Phase
project
3
area.
of the
Yeah.
proposed beach nourishment would cover these properties.
Yeah.
And what we propose is to put some riprap in place that would become the core of that dune, so that when that dune was eventually built, these boulders would be buried within that structure.
He said no.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I was, yeah.
I-
There was recently built that, in 258, a huge, their wall collapsed, and they were allowed to put these large stones, 400 tons. And basically, it's only a question of difference. It's the difference in time from when our wall failed and theirs did. But
I guess I wish they had a very clear policy in a developed area on a, you know,
It's hard, yeah,
Well, it becomes,
a barrier beach, but it's already
yeah.
full of houses. I just,
yeah.
That's why.
I think they're working on it.
Yeah.
And it depends on who you talk to. You get different, because now you're getting into interpretations. You know, we've had people at the state tell us to put gabions and build a wall, and they cover it with a dune. Effectively, that's not a lot different than putting rocks and covering it with a dune, but in somebody's own mind of creating that technique, that's more acceptable.
Well, the gabion in that area was not acceptable to CZM, because I asked her.
Right,
because
but this
it's-
commission
No,
was,
no,
like,
I
3
know.
years ago, they were telling everybody,
Yeah, no,
CZM and the state,
I know.
use gabions and bury it, and then it's a dune, and that's what I'm talking about. You're now in a gray area, you're
Yeah.
not in regulations, you're in, this is how I feel.
I hear you,
And-
but
But we also permitted several different homes on that same beach. We let people realign riprap, we let them add riprap, and this is only within a couple of years. And the commission voted on it, and the commission allowed it.
to replace an existing, the problem here is this was existing so long ago, and the way that, from what I gathered, they're looking at it, it has not in the past 10, 15 years been an existing wall there that was, it has been gone longer than that.
But it has existing riprap that is still there, that could be realigned and added to.
It can't be added to.
We let other people add to it. There's several different houses that we did.
But we didn't next door, though, right?
No,
The
no, we asked.
gentleman that was in.
No, and the rules have been, as Paul pointed out, the rules have been altered over the past 2
Oh,
or
yeah,
3
they
years.
have.
And
They have
that makes it
over the past
a
years.
really a difficult,
And it puts us in a real
basically a
difficult
conundrum, to
position.
say the least. I get your point, Lisa. Jen?
But in the Justisons, that was within 2 years.
I understand. Hold on a minute. Jen?
I don't have anything different to add that hasn't already been said.
It is a bit of a conundrum. The rules have been altered. Our charge is to work with the rules that we have, on the one hand. As I mentioned, I think earlier, a couple of meetings ago, it certainly is open to question whether or not the way the rules are, it works in that location. And I have to sympathize, I'm sorry, agree with Penny completely. We have to close this meeting, and then we have to figure out exactly whether we can agree with you or not, and if it doesn't work out that way, and you can see we have diverse opinions here, I would say there is a mechanism for appealing, and that may be the best possibility you have to get not only what you propose to do, but something even better along the road. I also recognize that the proposal for down the road is 4 or 5 years away from reality at best, and that's a lot of years. So there is a lot of empathy here, but we have restrictions, rules, regulations, and our job is to work the best we can within them. So is there anyone in the audience that has anything they want to add to this?
I'm just part of a group in the same situation.
Your name, sir?
Mark Perfetti, 294 Central Ave.
Okay.
And there's a row of 7 houses that years ago did all join together and built a riprap. And in the meantime, have added to it. And we would like to do the same thing also. So we're here to support them and also to say that there's multiple homeowners that desires to do the same thing. To help, for all the reasons that they said.
Right, and if I could add, from a consistency standpoint, as we pointed out in the documentation, most of the homes from my property north do have a substantial amount of riprap or a seawall. So we are, we represent the few homes that are still unprotected along the beach. So consistency.
Mr. Harding, you mentioned the rules have changed. It may be more that the interpretation of the rules has changed. And so it's like the wind. It blows one way and it blows another. But we're caught in that crosswind.
I get that.
And I don't know where in the regulations it states that it was a wall so many years ago. It needs to be a current wall? When's current? Today? A year, 10 years?
After 78. And that was, it does not show prior to that. I mean,
Since
after
then.
78. It
What she's
would've-
saying is after the Wetlands Protection Act.
Yeah, came into
Came into
being.
effect in
That's what
78.
they're saying.
But the wall is still there, and we lost the top of the wall, but they're still, they were still taking it out of Mr. Charbonneau's, when they drove piles.
Mm,
The base of the wall is still there.
But it's been buried for how many years? That's what, you know,
But the evidence is still there, that's his
I
point.
hear ya. That's why I'd like somebody else out there.
Thank you, Mr. Perfetti. Yes, ma'am.
So why is it that some people can
What?
dig
You're not asking
and
people's
then
names.
bring up some more rocks and change it all around?
If they've been before us, as these people are now, we have to go with what we have to do with now.
Well, I mean, this
If
has
they were
only
done-
been in the last two years or so. You can see them, they dig, they add, they rearrange after a storm.
We're at 186 Central Ave.
And I
Your
see
name,
where
sir?
it's going.
O'Neill.
Okay.
And they have been rearranging the wall as we speak.
It gets
Every
higher.
year it happens. After a storm, you guys allow me to go back in
Looks
there
like a split
and
board
rearrange
up there.
the wall, and some have added to the wall.
It doesn't always mean that they came in and got
No,
permission.
that's true.
They just go
They
ahead
may have
and
gone
do it.
ahead and done it
They
without
tell you
coming
how many
to
But
conservation.
then
phone
what
calls
goes
you
through
get.
the houses are left in the street, and then you dump it like my driveway.
That's not us.
Thank
But
you.
you don't mind, huh?
I said it's not us.
No,
We
it's-
have no control
Oh, I
over
see, yeah,
where the cobble goes.
right.
So unless I hear otherwise from Amy, we're going to close the meeting, and then we're going to figure out what we can do or can't do, and get back to you as quickly as possible.
We're only trying to save the beach.
I understand, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, and your home.
Mr. Chairman,
God.
one request before you vote on closing is that if this is heading towards a negative determination, we'd prefer to continue and maybe put some other things in evidence that would help us on an appeal. So,
Help you
No,
out.
No.
if we close the hearing, we don't reopen it, so it's,
right, so my point is, if you're going to close it with a negative determination, that we continue it, and we will seek legal counsel to understand what additional information we should
No, I think
provide
that's
to the
backwards,
NOI.
isn't it?
Why don't you just ask for a continuance?
Yes, that's what we're doing.
We can do that.
And then that makes it real simple.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
well, but at some point, though, we're gonna need to close the hearing.
understand.
So if you have something else that you wanna give us, give it to us. But I would say that we've gone back and forth
Right.
a lot. And I think we have had clear direction from the state on, you know, what we can and can't do. And I think that message has been conveyed to you pretty clearly, so.
Sure, so what I've heard here tonight, though, is that you're recommending that we appeal a negative determination.
No, it's.
If we denied,
A denial.
denial, not
If it's a
negative
denial.
determination. I don't, I'm sorry.
You're not
My
gonna
terminology,
appeal
sorry.
to us. You would appeal.
But the
to-
reason.
I understand, I understand.
The reason for the continuance is because there are certain things required in the appeal. And if we haven't covered all bases of information, then it's going to knock it out. We want to be correct in our, to having what we have presented, to make sure it doesn't get thrown out in the appeal. And that's the purpose of it.
That's it. So,
I've
best
never-
way
So we would like one, at least one more continuance.
Sure.
So you're
We'll
looking
wrap
to
it up.
continue it?
To submit some
give
more
you an
material.
opportunity
To
to talk
submit
to
some
an
more
attorney
material,
for-
yes.
For direction?
correct.
I don't really have a problem with that.
That seems
No,
reasonable.
it's
I think we
fine.
gotta- we
I've
gotta-
just never heard of anyone not,
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough thing,
Accepting
is
an
like,
appeal.
you know, everybody on the board wants
Yeah.
to let them,
well, we want to help you, but
and then like,
we've got to be careful, that's all.
And there has been a lot of time spent. I mean, I know a group of people
We
were there
understand
for
that.
more than 2 hours out at your house. And if I wasn't out of town, I would have been there, but
So what, go out 2 weeks?
next meeting.
Okay, I make a motion, we continue 178 Central Ave, 180 Central Ave to October 22nd at 6:20. See you then.
Right, and so the deadline for that meeting is a week before. Yeah.
Yeah. Any info?
I need a second on the motion.
Second?
Is that gonna be
Favor?
enough time?
Yes.
Because we could go to the next meeting if you want, which would be November 7th.
Whatever it is, I don't know.
Get back there.
Well, actually, no, we need to continue
November
it to a time.
22nd, and then after that,
You want to go
What's that?
November
Yeah.
7th?
Be enough time.
When?
They're gonna
November
be done
7th.
November
Yeah.
7th.
November
Yeah,
7th.
November
okay.
7th, just to be safe.
Thank you, we
We'll
appreciate,
erase that one.
we appreciate your time and
I make a
whatever help
motion,
you've offered us.
Every 2
I make
weeks?
a motion
Like
to
first and
continue
third?
178 Central Ave, 180 Central Ave to November
Okay.
7th, which will
And
be a
then
Wednesday
Thanksgiving
night.
falls in here.
Wednesday.
Night after election night.
Yeah, after election,
got it.
to 6:20. Okay?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Rich,
Ma'am.
I think that my red line note is confusing.
I've been confused.
She's gonna use that too. But I mean, we're not gonna close the hearing today because we're waiting for the bill.
Right. I got it the second time around, after I screwed up the first time. But we still have,
Four Rivers.
Four Rivers, the only one left.
okay.
So that kind of narrows it down.
I haven't been that confused for a long time.
Yeah, set a precedent.
Yeah, do something.
So it's River, it's the, I'll get the fire, you'd think I'd know to do the fire station. On October 1st, 2018, well, not 6:25, but at the 6:25 meeting at Town Hall, the Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 of the Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of the Town of Scituate to construct a new fire apparatus on bay and raise and reconstruct existing living quarters building on property located at 4 River Street, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Good evening again, both of you.
Good evening. Chief Murphy, if you'd like, I'll give you a quick overview of what our plan is for the property down in Humrock.
Please do.
This is a two-phase project. The first project is an apparatus bay, two-bay apparatus bay, to be built just south of the existing building. That, the reason that came about is basically a new fire engine is not gonna fit in there, A, and the condition of the building, we're looking to either renovate or replace the building of the existing living quarters. So the first phase is a two-bay apparatus bay to be built south, to be a 42 by 48-foot building, to be able to hold 2 apparatus down there for our future needs. Currently, we looked at, the town meeting approved $250,000 for the project. They also approved $50,000 for a renovation of the existing building and upgrading some of our communications. Last winter, we had 2 storms. We had water touching the floorboards in this building.
We're familiar, several of us are familiar with that.
Yeah, so we're looking at, why put money to something that won't survive, won't last long-term? So we're looking at how to either replace or raise and renovate the existing building. So it's going to be there for the next 40 or 50 years to help all these people that are here tonight from Humrock, as well as the rest of the town of Scituate. So the first phase, again, is a 2-bay garage. The second phase, we have $50,000. We were able to just recently sign a contract last week, $100,000 donation, or a grant we received from the state through Senator Pat O'Connor. So we have $150 at this time, looking for federal funds as well. And if the boards and the selectmen and the town agree to further fund a replacement, right now, my preliminary estimates are about a $10,000 difference to replace versus renovate that building to last the next 50 years. Obviously, putting it on pilings down the road. So right now, we're doing the site plan and the stormwater review for this property for both buildings. But right now, the first building is the only one that's been totally approved. We're trying to get that done this fall, this winter. We'll find out where we are next spring at town meeting to how we further go with the existing living quarters.
Okay, so as someone who lives down there, let me understand this. So the living quarters would be pushed further south?
So let me actually give you a rendition right here. The living quarters is almost exactly where it is now. Okay? So right now, this apparatus space is gonna go on here, it's gonna be about a 4 or 5 foot separation. So if we decide to tear this building down, we don't damage this building here. We'll have a small breezeway for the temporary time. This building here, we hope to have a 24 by 48 foot building that, two separate types of buildings. This is gonna be a steel frame, similar to the building at Scituate Boat Works. Steel frame, galvanized sheet, it's gonna have shingles, look like it belongs down there, and a nice 2-bay garage. This is gonna be a 2-bedroom prefab wooden home, basically a 2-bedroom ranch, with a triage room in there, handicap bathroom, handicap ramp in the back. So we hope to marry this up by next fall, to marry this into this building and have a whole new facility down there. This one will be on pilings, this one will be mounted up approximately 2 feet to get as high out of the water as we can and still maintain the slope in the front of the building. So that's the plan right now, phase 1 and phase 2.
Okay. I'm looking at it from River Street.
Yes.
So this is the reverse of the way it is now.
Right now, all you have is this building here.
Right.
The apparatus bay is right in the middle.
Okay.
This right here will be added to the south, and the positive part about that, if
I
we
got
do a prefab,
Mm-hmm.
this building is probably out of service for about 2 months.
Mhm.
Fairly quick, pilings and all that. We'll put a living quarters in here, probably some type of trailer. They can be inside, apparatus. If we decide to renovate, it's probably more of a 6 to 8 month project, but phase 1 is the apparatus.
Chief,
phase
I don't know if
2.
there's anybody here, there's only a couple of people left, but you want to just make sure they can see a picture of that as well? Sure. Just for a second. Okay, thank you. Paul?
Sure. This is the existing site, which is outlined in yellow, supported by 3 ways. One is Berry Avenue, which is a gravel way. Harvard Street, which is paved, and the main street being River Street. The existing structure is in this location shown in brown. This center section is where the existing fire truck parks, and this is the apron that they would travel in and out of from the station. There's a small patch of asphalt in this area, and the rest of it is really a open gravel parking area where all the vehicles that visit during the day would park. There's an existing pole here which has to be relocated because it's an overhead wire going to this house, and this is where the new building's going. The site is in a firm zone, AE elevation 13. The elevation of the land is anywhere between 9 and 10. The proposed building is shown in orange here. This is a 2-bay structure with a paved apron at a 5% slope. 5% is the maximum slope, which is the maximum safe slope for the fire engines. The elevation of this slab is going to be 11.2, which is 2 feet higher than the existing structure, which is here in the crosshatch area. This reddish building here is the proposed building that's going to replace the living quarters, which would be attached to the apparatus building at a future date. This is a handicap ramp to the rear of the building. This new building would be on piles or piers. The elevation of the top of the pier would be 14, so it's 1 foot above what the Conservation Commission requires. The first floor would be around elevation 15.2, and they would be able to walk back and forth from here into the fire apparatus building. There's also, to the rear of the building, is a pad about 10 feet by 10 feet for a new communications tower. There's also a smaller pad for a generator in case they lose power during the storms. This heavy line is the proposed silt sock going around it. We're going to organize the parking in the back, so if trucks do have to come in here, larger trucks, they can come in, and the vehicles would park here. We show 8 spaces, assuming that they had a shift change. The existing shift could park while the new one came in and parked as well. We've also filed with the planning board. We have a site plan administrative review next Thursday night. As far as stormwater, we are in land subject to coastal storm flowage. Under the DEP regulations, we're not required to do any work. Under the local bylaw, the stormwater bylaw, we're providing some infiltrators to collect the roof runoff from these two buildings. The apron is gonna flow onto the street. That apron can't be crowned or anything like that because of safety reasons for the trucks. So the water from here would flow straight through. But the existing apron that's in here now is gonna be eliminated. So the increase in that asphalt is very small. What these infiltrators will pick up are the smaller rainstorms. When you get the ocean flows coming through, like they did in Marsh, these will all be underwater. There's approximately 8 or 9 inches of water in the bay, according to the chief, in that storm last March. The grading around these buildings will change in order to be able to build a ramp going up to it, and also to accommodate the stairs and the handicap ramp coming into the building. We'll be picking this site up approximately 2 feet in front of the garage, and then the rest of the site will stay the same. The soils are all sandy, the water tables are relatively low at high tide. The existing septic system is here, which will stay in place. So with that, I think I'll end and answer any questions you may have. But one thing I would add is that there's a question as to whether or not this was going to go out for a review and for stormwater. The fire chief was looking to have the foundation for this board sometime before Thanksgiving when the cold weather comes. The plan, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is to pour the frost wall for this and the slab in the steel building and come later. But under the stormwater bylaw, there's a provision that says, in essence, that the post-development peak discharge rates cannot exceed the pre-development discharge rates, which these chambers do for the storms. This standard can be waived if the discharges are on land subject to coastal storm flowage. We are not asking to have this work eliminated because it will pick up the water from the rainstorms, but as far as ocean flows coming through here, we can't do anything about that for obvious reasons. So we would ask that, if need be, that the commission waive that requirement and accept the design we have. And the hope is that we can close the hearing this evening. So he can get his order of conditions in 2 weeks, and we expect the planning board to approve it next week as well, as it's a administrative review, and it's not a full-blown special permit or a public hearing. It'll be a public meeting. Okay, I think with that, I'll end and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Paul. Penny?
No, the only question I have is I don't know if we can waive on that stormwater. I don't know.
So, I'm trying to understand the peer review that we seem to do on these. Is that, so you've got, what you're doing is you're basically picking up all the impervious roof tops and infiltrating those, right? So you're saying the small increase is because there was a driveway pitching towards the road and there's gonna be a new one, but part of that's gonna be taken away, so.
You can see this driveway here on the front sheet here, you can see the width of it.
Yeah, so the new one's slightly bigger.
Pardon?
New one's slightly bigger, so you're talking about,
Yes.
so it must be pretty
I mean,
small.
that's servicing one truck, this will service two. So
Right.
basically, you got half of this, but this has to be the same, we can't crown it this way or this way, we have to have it come out this way for the safety of the vehicles. And that's at the maximum slope, 5%. That's the only additional pavement you have here. And again, everything from the roof is going to be infiltrated. The standard is if you have an increase of 25% or more, that you have to have stormwater. This structure is what's increasing everything by 25%. But again, the only runoff increase you would have is from these roof areas, which will all be infiltrated into the ground now. This is going to stay gravel in the back. It's fairly hard packed. Other than that, there's no other hardscape proposed.
Yeah, so,
It's pretty minor.
yeah, I mean, the infiltrators will pick it up. The, I guess this is, I know this is a bit anecdotal, and maybe you can answer this, but it's because we have had another applicant who's done some improvements. People next door run into problems with that. With the existing driveway, when it rains, the water runs out into
River Street.
River Street. Has there been any issues with that? Is there adequate drainage, town drainage in River Street? I mean, has there been
I
any
think there's been
issues?
not to my recollection, there's been no problems, I don't think.
Actually, there is.
Yeah, a lot of the streets down there
A lot of the
flood
streets at the
because
base of
there's
the-
terrible
Yeah,
drainage
yeah, the
in
streets
the
are
whole
bad.
place.
And in fact, I would want to point out, I don't know if there's any way you can roll this in, but the drainage at the base of Harvard Street is always flooded. And I'm not saying that that's part of this, but somebody should look into that particular catch basin. It's always flooded.
So
there.
did we
You
get
get a
this one
rainstorm
now?
like we've had last week, and it's flooded for 3 days. I don't know how that would absolutely affect what you need or not, but it certainly doesn't help. So we may want to have.
No, the roads there have terrible drainage. My street has a lake on it all the time, yeah.
You saying the catch basins themselves are loaded?
Yeah.
Well, that's.
Or they don't have an
I
adequate
realize
number.
that's not directly-
That's not
No,
your,
but I'm saying that should be
right.
addressed. I'm not saying trying to deviate from that, but
Yeah.
that's something that, just looking at FEMA stuff, with the emergency management director as well, to try to make sure we capture all that opportunity, because a lot of that stuff is reimbursable. So within 6 months of the storms, if we can go out there and clean the catch basins and make sure all the coastal roads are clear, now is the time to do that.
But as long as you're handling your water, you won't be contributing to that.
Yeah.
Right, well, you understand my search for consistency here, right?
Yes,
So-
yes.
Right, so,
And the peer review is underway. The results
Oh, it is
will be
already?
in on Wednesday. So what I think that you could do is, assuming that the review does not pick up anything earth-shattering and they don't
Subject to the
address
review.
it within a time, within a timely manner,
That's
we
fair.
could probably close and issue at the next hearing. So that would still give them an order in hand on the
I think so.
22nd.
Don't
Or the
actually close
23rd.
tonight, close and
Issue.
Order on the 22nd.
on the
Yeah,
22nd,
or-
we can do
You
that.
do
So,
that,
or
why don't-
Accept the
23rd,
design
24th.
contingent on the peer review?
because they don't issue
Yeah,
the
well, as long
conditions
as
till the next meeting
everybody's-
anyway.
In agreement.
What they're
Has
saying
all
is
of
they'll
their
close the meeting
questions
next week
by
and
and
issue
large
the orders
answered on the
the same
project.
night.
And if there's tweaking with.
It won't cost you any time, it's just,
Subsurface.
it'll alleviate possible complications.
And the only reason I'm pushing for time, and I'm good with that, is to try to get this building.
Sure.
It takes about 2 months to have the building built internally.
Yeah.
So if I can get the pad poured, everything this winter, I know exactly what I need for next town meeting as far as funds for the rest of the
You're
project.
talking the November 14th meeting or the one next spring?
I'm talking next spring town meeting. So if I can get everything completed, the pad poured before it gets too cold.
Right.
Get the building going to bid, get the building built, and hopefully January, February, this apparatus bay is built, and I have a
Yeah.
good idea, a better idea, what do I need this spring
Sure.
for existing,
Got it.
structure.
All right.
So we
Lisa?
should be able to do that.
Well,
One second.
it puts the pressure on the engineers is what it does. I mean, I've been given a verbal that we'll have the initial results early, this week. And so we'll get them immediately to Paul, and if he prioritizes it, we just need the plan back in hand within a week before the 22nd, so.
Yeah,
So that actually gives you 2 weeks to work with. Lisa, do you
Yeah.
have questions?
yeah, 'cause
So,
We'll avoid you.
can we just, I think this, I understand his urgency. Can we all agree to accept the design contingent on the peer review?
Yeah. That's
What we're saying, we'll close next meeting and have the orders, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I just
Right.
wanted,
Okay, and Jen?
I'm good.
Oh, there you go.
I had just a couple of questions on, just clarification. So now, is there fuel storage at this location?
No fuel storage.
Okay.
Nope, everything's natural gas for heat, the apparatus bays as well as the things natural gas, so there's no fuel storage whatsoever. No mechanic work is done down here, all the mechanic work for all our apparatus is done at Station 1 at First Parish Road.
So then that just raises a very small point. If you're gonna put a generator in back, I assume that's also gonna be up off the ground.
That's gonna be off the ground. You know,
And what is
that
it, 5
may-
feet back of the building, I think, or something like that?
That's 5 feet off the back of the building, it'll be on a pad, and that actually may be diesel storage. It's self-contained unit,
Mhm.
because after what just happened in North Shore, to have natural gas, we have to be resilient to everything, and the recommendation now is to have a diesel tank like we do with the public safety complex, built it within, it's like a belly tank, they call it, under the generator itself, so that would be the only storage.
Maybe that should go more than a foot up,
Oh, yeah, we want to raise that up too, so,
and maybe at least 2 feet on that. You know.
yeah, we probably round that up, try to get that as high as the apparatus floor, and then have a frame, galvanized frame on top of that to make sure it's up enough where that's not gonna get ruined in a big one.
All right. Anyone in the audience? Amy, anything else?
No, I think it's a great project. I mean, it's,
Oh, yeah.
you know, well needed, so, yeah, let's get it done.
So we need a motion to continue,
Continue
but the
until-
plan is, to make sure you
That
understand,
orders
that
will-
we should be able to close, provided the stormwater comes in and it's clean and there's no other issues, we should be able to close and issue orders that night. That'll be what we're aiming to do.
Well, and, yeah.
Right.
It's not- And vote on the orders.
Vote on the orders.
Right.
To have them in hand
Right.
within like
Right.
the day or so after that, yeah.
I make a motion to continue 4 River Street till October 22nd at 6:20.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Amy,
very
who's
much.
doing the review? Stormwater,
No.
no?
At least if they fix some of these rings.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank
Did
you
you only
very
bring
much.
one drawing, chief?
I have,
It's yours.
You
Everything's
want a
yours.
copy of this, right?
If he doesn't have one, that'd be fine.
I can give you this copy here.
That'd be marvelous. I appreciate it.
Okay, the door's red.
Will be an improvement.
Yeah, much needed.
Okay, let's see.
I think, Rich, I think,
Holy crap.
we may have Mr. O'Brien here, which is an enforcement matter that we've got going on in Hummerock. He just wanted to come and, tell us
Okay.
about what's going on at his property. Back, built into a dune on Ocean Ave.
Okay?
Ocean
Drive.
Drive. And I've got some pictures just to show you.
You want to come up to the table?
What number ocean is it, Amy?
Yeah.
So anyways, about a month ago, or something like that, doing a drive-through Ocean Ave and just happened to pick up on the situation where I saw it move back and I was thinking that we had not permitted it. So we sent a letter off and Mr. O'Brien gave us a call back. And indeed, he hadn't pulled permits, but he does want to tell you about the property and what went on.
Well, I did build a deck. I didn't realize I had to have a permit. I've gone to the website and I can see that I do need a permit. As I mentioned to Amy, you know, I did some excavating by hand, and I did move some sand from near the house to the ocean side of the dune. I know you're concerned about the vegetation and everything, but over the last 50 years, I've planted probably more Rosa rugosa than anybody in Hummerock. And, I mean, you've seen that there's a ton of rose bushes there. I'm not saying I'm responsible for all of them, but I'm responsible for lots of them. Even 78 didn't knock us out. it was damaging, but it didn't knock us out. I don't know whether you're aware, there is a wall that runs nearly the full length of Ocean Drive, with the exception of like both ends. And the 5 houses, of which I'm one in the middle, the wall is only 8 feet tall. Some on the other ends decided they wanted 10 feet, and I think there's a house or two to the north that might actually have added, to the wall that was built in '62 that, made it even higher. But anyway, I don't particularly agree with all that. I think the rose bushes are much better. They withstand a lot. So I know I did something I guess I shouldn't have done, but on the other hand, I've planted so many of them, I just don't know what to tell you.
Well, you did have a deck there before,
Yeah,
so you were replacing a deck that was
right,
in.
but it was beyond, it was at a point where you couldn't repair it. So we dismantled it, tucked it away, and then
Is this
straightened out straightened out the
Just a
the
smidgen.
grade, and then proceeded to build another deck.
How much bigger is this deck than the other one?
I'm going to say off the house, it's 2 feet more than the old one.
So 2 feet more into the
Dune.
dune?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Don't go in your dune anymore, just file, I would think,
After the
after the fact.
Well, first of all, we really appreciate that
Yes,
you've
that you
responded,
came in.
which a lot of people choose or try not to.
Yeah.
And you come in here in good faith to see what can be done.
I did bring some pictures of all my plantings,
Yep.
and you already have some pictures of the deck, so I don't know
Yeah,
if
no.
any of that is really helpful. I don't know whether you saw down on the beach that there's a whole row of Rosa rugosas that are all planted behind the wall. So the way it works there is if you get a northeaster that lasts long enough, you can eventually expose the wall, and the water comes in and, grinds away.
Yeah.
And then eventually, it's grinding away above the wall, but it's also grinding away below the wall. And then, at some point, when maybe there's 2 feet of wall exposed, the wall starts to really stop the erosion. Now, you still get some splash over and run back, from, the rose bushes are so high, it's almost like having another wall there. My rose bushes out front, where you saw, you were on the deck where you took some photos?
Well, not like that.
Okay, whatever.
It
Okay.
wasn't physically.
I understand you have every right to be on the property to investigate an issue. I got no problems there. But I go out and prune them. You cut a rose bush. I cut small amounts, and then I go by again in small amounts. I do this after the first bloom in the spring. And for every one that you clip, it sends out 2 or 3 more.
Absolutely.
And at the top of my dune, the rose bushes are only about this tall, because they'd be above the house if I did nothing. But, so I'm guilty of cutting the rose bushes too, but I think for good gain.
You're maintaining.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
not that-
yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
think
with
that's.
that-
And I have the permission of my neighbor to the south. She's older than I am, and she's more than happy to let me go around and straighten all of that stuff out. You may have noticed there was a cedar tree down over there. That was not me. Okay? I'm opposed to cutting things like that.
Yeah.
But it was not me, so. So I guess I would like you to tell me that I can put the railings on. I know I need to go to the building inspector and get a permit.
That's right.
I'm assuming that I guess what I now understand is if building permits come in two forms, the ones that pertain to the building and the ones that pertain to outside the building, and that's what I'm looking for, I guess. And if it's outside the building, you folks need to,
Yeah, where it's
Put
on,
your
where it's on
stamp
the
on
barrier
it.
beach, on the beach and all, yes.
If you're gonna touch the ground, if you're gonna put a roof on your house, you can just talk to building. If you go in there to do a deck,
Exactly.
they'll say, talk to conservation.
now, so,
Anything that goes in
Yeah.
front.
so what is, it- what do I do? Go to building and say I need a permit? Of course, he's probably not gonna be happy with me because.
Can't be
the work-
any more unhappy than we were.
He'll be
Okay.
happy to get you on the books.
Right.
Okay.
And then for us, if you can file a request for determination of applicability, we're gonna call it after the fact.
Yeah,
And as a penalty, sorry, we will be doubling the fee.
I think I saw that somewhere.
Yeah,
on
so,
the
and then
schedule.
you'll come back, you'll present the project,
Yeah,
and then you'll get a finding from the
Okay.
commission, and then you'll be clear,
okay,
so.
all right.
And he should be able to just do a sketch himself, right, with the dimensions for this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing
And when you
really
go to
complicated.
building, if they have any problem, you can have them talk
Right.
to Amy, because we
But
want them
isn't-
to get a building
But the
permit.
procedure is building,
Building first.
and he can't actually give me a permit until he hears from you folks.
Right. He-
Which I'll-
Generally, unless he makes a mistake, if they make a mistake sometime, you'll get the permit. But
Oh,
generally,
I see.
he's gonna wanna talk to,
Right, and we'll keep you going, but just try to file this with us, actually by Friday, and we can get you on for the 22nd.
What am I filing by Friday?
So it's, if
The
you
RDA.
go to our website or come in the office, we'll give you a request for determination of applicability form, so it's Form 1.
Yeah,
And you just fill it out, it's pretty self-explanatory, attach a sketch, give us
Okay.
the fee, we'll advertise it in the paper, so it's actually goes out to your, broadcast it out, if anybody's interested, they can come attend the meeting.
yeah, okay.
So it happened here, you'll just go through it, people will go through and give us your, we'll give
just
them-
fill out the form and you'll make a sketch, like,
Yeah.
repair and replace an existing deck
Yeah.
and just show the dimensions and.
Yeah,
Okay.
pictures.
Now, you mentioned to me on the phone that the side deck was really not your interest, so to speak.
Well,
Because
what
it's
I
not
was
really
saying-
in the dune.
Well, no, it's all our interest, because anything that's shoveling the ground on a
Well,
barrier
I
beach,
understand that, but I was
the
curious about your,
velocity zone is more of interest to us than something on the side
yeah,
of the house.
okay,
We don't really want people to go too much further out into the beach, unless they already have something existing,
yeah,
which you did.
yes, yeah.
So if you take care of that, we should be probably okay.
Pretty good.
Thank you for coming in and
We
Yeah.
really appreciate that.
Really-
fixing it,
Stuck around
yeah.
so I could see how it all works.
This was a good meeting, there wasn't
Yeah.
too much controversy.
Would you like these back? You can put those
Well,
in RDA.
Oh.
Actually, it looks like a nice deck.
Yeah.
It's really nice, yeah.
Well, we decided that we have had other decks and what have you, where you run the decking parallel to the house,
Yeah,
and that creates a long distance. You have to have all these seams, and over time, every failure is
Oh,
at the
yeah,
seam.
yeah,
So we
yeah,
said,
yeah.
we're gonna change the framing and run it the other way, and
see what
then
happens.
we don't have that.
Yeah.
So we ran it down the side at 5 feet, we ran across the east side at 10 feet, or just under 10 feet, and hopefully that'll work.
Hopefully that'll work perfectly.
You know, so.
Thanks for coming in again.
Thank you.
So, Friday,
By
By Friday.
Friday.
Yeah.
and if I come back during the week, you'll help me?
Yes.
Okay, see, I like that.
These are the easy ones, people who wanna fix stuff right away, yeah.
Yeah, then call first, but either Jen or I can help you.
Yeah, okay.
Instead of 10 years later.
I know, yes. You can call us names.
It's a pretty simple.
Thank you again.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
Nice to
Thanks,
meet you.
Mr. Bryan.
Take care.
Okay, so we've got orders of conditions.
Yeah. Okey-dokey. I make a motion that we accept 23 Oceanside as written.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I make a motion, we accept 0 Booth Hill Road, Base Lane, access and parking as written.
And second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I make a motion, we accept 29 Gilson Road, please rebuild as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I make a motion, we accept 111 Turner Road, elevation as written.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
I want to say the Oceanside was not an easy one, and I thought they were really done well. I really did.
I thought Amy did awesome. I liked
Yeah.
the drop dead timeframe
Yeah.
because it was an enforcement order.
Yeah.
And
I had a little help from my friends.
Good job.
Yeah, but it really was good.
Together.
It really was good.
it works well and hopefully.
I like
he
the idea of
abides
the deadlines.
by
I
it,
think that's helpful.
And we'll see
We'll
what
see, I
happens.
know, I hope that he abides
And we
by
have
it.
the,
Yeah.
where we can go out and
And-
review it.
Of note, so the enforcement order was, he's now in compliance with issuing the order. The enforcement order is now complete.
Okay, yeah.
So meaning that he's able to mow his lawn.
Well, he's been mowing it all along.
I know.
anyway.
But at least it's enforced.
But that
But
was,
he's
it
doing
was a
it legal
bone of
now.
contention, so.
And certificates of compliance, we don't need to vote on, am I correct?
No, you don't.
Do you have anything you want us to hear?
Well, not really, I mean,
Were these all good
well.
to go, or?
They were, some of them were old, so, there's a septic system, some old ones, some raised rebuilds. We have this 55 Seaside, and I guess I'm gonna
Yeah, that's
recommend it.
17 Priscilla.
17 Priscilla, so it's all the way down the end of Priscilla.
Yeah,
And it was an Elevate,
yeah.
and it was from 2013.
Yeah, exactly.
And there was some banter about a shed and a garage,
Right,
should they
right.
take it down? And then, but there is definitely a shed that's I mean, it's a tiny house as far as I'm concerned, it's a pretty good-sized shed, but anyways, it's there. And, I mean, so I was thinking about it, I'm like, it's on the as-built, it wasn't on the proposed, but he had I think he had a more, or they had a different shed in a different location, so I think we should put it through, is my conclusion.
No, and I think that's fair, because one thing that is tough with these, there are people who just go wild, but if you call the building department and you say, I want to put a shed in,
They'll say do it.
as long as they say, as long as you meet the setbacks and you keep it under a certain size, you don't need a building permit. So that's kind of, tough to hold people
Right.
feet to the fire then when they called and did the right thing and they're told, you're good to go, you don't need to talk to anyone.
Well, and it's big enough so that they even elevated the shed. So, I mean,
Right, so that's even ahead of the game, because a lot of people just put them
Just
Right.
throw it on the
around,
ground.
yeah,
yeah.
on
it's
concrete blocks,
a
yeah.
Beautiful house, and I know there's a pending sale, so I don't want to hold it up,
No, I agree with you.
So,
Um,
that's it.
Nothing else, Amy, you're good?
Well, I have actually last-minute Cayman update. Oh,
Here we go.
Oh, boy, that's a fast-moving, this is fast-moving,
I
so.
checked my email before I came into the meeting, and there was an email from the wetland scientist who says he hopes to have the NOI by Friday. So,
So we put it on next meeting.
yeah,
Oh, how
so
exciting.
something to look forward to.
Oh, something. to
Which
look
one is
forward to.
that?
And he,
Oh,
This is our pear man.
Started in the early 90s, it's been ongoing.
I've been here 7 years, it was the first one I picked up on 7 years ago. My first visit, everything.
reports are that it's been quiet out there because it's harvest time, so I think all he's really doing is
Harvesting,
pears.
harvesting the
not
pears.
tormenting the
And
neighbors.
they
Right.
do
He's
taste good.
another
I
one, he
gotta
was
say.
out at night with his
Yeah.
bobcat and tries the neighbors.
Anything else?
No,
So from a trails perspective, we had a booth at the Council on Aging walk about last weekend, 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
And it was great. We, one of the volunteers came down and sat with me, Rich, and it was pretty well attended. And we got a shout out from Maura as a select woman on the work that we're doing on the trails.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it was great. We have 2 maps, like pretty much complete.
Great.
Not the verbiage on the back, but enough that we were handing them out, and trail markers are going up for Bates Lane, or no, Ellis and the Driftway are done.
Excellent.
Yeah, so some good progress there.
Oh, good.
We're meeting again. We meet every 2 weeks until we're done.
Superb. That's really good news.
Thanks, Jen.
Excellent. Thank you.
Awesome.
Anything else?
I make a motion to adjourn. I'm gonna close.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, folks.
Look at this, it's not even 8 o'clock.
You have stuff like sign, General Girl?
Oh,